What's the seat? Where are the seating cards? Hi, Charles. Pleasure. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to us.
Absolutely.
We are just super honored and very happy. Come, gentlemen, let's...
We're representatives of Marylanders for Equal Marriage.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so to you.
We hope that we can invite you back in January.
We'll do it again. We will be here. We will absolutely be here.
I'm
Take
Charles
it with me
Blackburn.
everywhere.
Charles.
Dean, we've been together for 34 years.
Oh, amazing.
And in
Yay.
July of 2004, we were plaintiffs in the ACLU lawsuit, which won in the lower court and lost in the upper court. And then we've been testifying to the legislature ever since until we got it through. And
It
now
becomes a
we
job.
have to be subjected
That's
to
right.
public vote.
Right.
I wish the whole world could see that movie.
I hope that they will.
Wonderful. It was infectious.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I
that.
appreciate that. I guess we appreciate that. I'm sorry that our director isn't with us. He has some friends from his life here, but he is working on a really important job until November 6th. He works for a really important man. Yes, who lives in Washington, D.C.
And we hope he will be still living there.
Yes. I got to tell you, this is the final cut of the movie, and the last thing Alan did was slip in that video footage of the president. Alan cuts all of the videos from the Obama campaign, so when you see a video online, it's something that Alan's team made, because every day Mr. Romney's people make these statements about the president that have to be debunked immediately, and that's what Alan's team does. And so when I saw this final cut and the president was in it, I started to cry. I was so happy. So I'm very happy you all got to see this edit.
Yeah.
Are there any questions that you have? I think they did such a brilliant job of answering all of them. I can't imagine what it would be, but
You'd be amazed.
Feel free. Yeah.
Did you go to Hawaii for your honeymoon?
We haven't actually. You're on our honeymoon.
Yes, someone asked us, where are you honeymooning? And we said, it's been a 26-year honeymoon.
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to have any wedding tour T-shirts?
Do you know what? We don't yet, but
With bumper stickers and
we have bumper stickers and posters, and I've seen a
postcards.
couple of little buttons. If you will find us on Facebook and reach out to us, we'll make sure you get something.
Right, and we also have a webpage at Married and Counting, all one word, marriedandcounting.com, which will.
T-shirt, do you want like a copy?
You bet.
Of course,
Heck yeah.
of course,
Heck yeah.
absolutely.
God.
Yes.
You guys are so natural talking to the camera and so revealing of yourselves. I mean, it's just amazing. Obviously, some of the camera, you're doing something and the camera's just watching you. But when you're directly addressing the camera, you're so natural with it. And so I'm wondering what it was like to live with the camera during this period. And did you hate it sometimes? Was it uncomfortable sometimes? Did it change? Did your relationship with the camera change as the film went on? Just anything along those lines?
Yes. Next.
Okay. I'd say it took about a week. The first few times, because every time when we started shooting the film, Alan said, if anyone says the word marriage or wedding or anything, you have to turn the camera on. And he gave us, we had this camera that lived with us full time, the one that was in the car. And literally, if Alan wasn't there to film us, we would start to film. And the scene on the bed where I'm talking to my mother for the first time about my dad not coming, that was shot on his phone.
Yeah, Alan had the camera. He was getting files off of it, and all I had was my little phone. And you talk about getting used to it and liking it and hating it. Even at that point, I started filming Steven and he was like, "Turn that off." And I'm like, "No, this is important. We have to do this." And it was really uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me to subject him to that. It was uncomfortable for him to do it, but.
I am actually a strangely private person. But when you commit to something like this, you have to just, balls to the wall, is that the right saying? I think that's the right saying.
Children
And
here,
each time, I apologize. But the thing is, each time that Alan came over, we would have to be fitted with a microphone that went up our clothes, and you could see it in several shots. And we just had to just zone him out. Otherwise, it was pointless, because it became false at that point.
I'll never forget when ACLU asked me to be a part of this lawsuit. And they said, what will your partner think about it? I said, I really don't know what he will say, because I'm the out and he's more reserved.
Right.
I went and he said, of course, Massachusetts has done it. Let's do it.
That's right. That's right. Well, at this point, I think we all have to do what we can. And we've actually had some people on our Facebook page say it's not right for us to liken this to the civil rights movement, but it is actually exactly like the civil rights movement.
It's a continuation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Have any of your relatives who are in the movie now seen the movie, and has it changed their sort of view of the whole endeavor?
Almost all of them, but not my father. Nope.
Well, my young niece and nephew haven't seen it.
That's right.
But
The
their
two kids that appear in the film have not seen it.
have not seen it, but their sister has. Their older sister, who is not in the film, she did some interviewing and so forth, but she was very pregnant at the time.
And feeling very unpretty, and the director said, "We won't use that."
And it was her father, my brother, that was appearing in the film. And then my mother-in-law has seen it.
We screened at the Austin Gay and Lesbian International Film Festival, and there was a caravan of family and friends that drove from Dallas-Fort Worth to Austin to see it. And sitting there in that theater with my mother by my side, my husband by my side, was horrific.
It was nerve-wracking because my niece, my older niece that I spoke of, she was there, and this film deals directly with her father and her brother and sister, and then my mother-in-law is there, and
My mother is a little outspoken.
Yeah. I call her Endora, but I hadn't really thought about it until we were sitting there and the movie was running. I thought, wait, there's family moments here, and I was a little nervous. And we got through the family moments and in the film, and I was like, okay, that's past, and I'm relaxing and everything. And my mother-in-law is on the other side of Stephen, and my mother-in-law, who doesn't believe you should cry unless something heavy falls on you. What about the Washington, D.C. wedding? Turns to Stephen, not whispering,
Full voice.
full voice. Pat is such a crybaby. 4 rows in front just fell apart.
It's true. She talks during the movies. Always. So, yes, they have seen it. The reaction from the family members has been very positive.
Question back here.
When will this be available to be seen widely, and how can we get it more?
Interestingly, because Alan has, he submitted the film to all the film festivals, and we're trying to get it into wide release, and he called us about a week ago, and asked us to put him on the speakerphone, and he said, we have an offer from a distribution company. And I said, do it. What do we know about making movies? Just do it. He said, I need you to listen to everything that I have to say. The ink hasn't been dried. We haven't signed the deal, but it's a good company. They've represented some really good films in the past. And
Supersize me.
no names. It would put the film on Netflix and on cable, but it would not restrict it from being seen in cinemas. So we could continue to pursue a wide release in multiplexes and that kind of thing. But we could also say, for example, at one of these, say, tell your friends to Netflix us when you get home tonight. So as soon as that happens, it will be announced on our Facebook page.
And on the MarionCounting.com. So keep an eye out, and we'll let you know, and you can start sending links around for people to check it out soon, I hope. Anything else? Yes?
Yes.
I just wanted to say
thank you. I mean, like, I was really struck watching it, like, this feeling of privilege that, you know, like, I got married to my husband and I could do it privately, and I didn't have to make this a statement that to me seems just amazingly generous to let the public into your life this way, to just sort of show them what it is that they're not understanding. And so thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's something that Alan keeps saying. You know, each time that we are together, and we haven't been together in a long time because of his job, but people will say things like that, and he'll say, you know, the real deal is about us. And it's interesting because that's why we did it. When we premiered the film in Rhode Island, to a crowd of about this size, many of the audience were high school and college students. And some of them were on a youth jury, and they gave us their award for the best feature. And, you know, we were kind of dumbstruck because we didn't expect anything, and Pat said, this is what matters to us because you are the people that we make this for, because you are our future. And that was his take on that. But my private take was the moment the film finished in Rhode Island and we were walking out, an elderly couple was there. And I'll never forget it because he was very, very tall and she was very diminutive. And yet they were holding hands, and that's a really neat visual to keep with you. And as a stranger, you know, these two people walked up to me, and she had her husband's hand, and she said, we were in the movie just before yours. And somebody said, you should stay and see the next film. And she said, so we did. And she let go of his hand and she hugged me. And she said, you have changed my perception of this issue. And that is why we did it, this film. So that's why it's really important to us that it have wide release.
One of the things that I like to say about the film is that the theme of our film is love. And the message of the film is, our love is the same as your love. And that's what we're trying to put out there, and that's why we wanted to keep it so very simple. One theme, one message, that's it.
So let's talk about your fight.
Yeah.
What happens next in this city?
State.
November 6th,
Mhm.
we vote. And there has been no discussion that I know of strategy beyond.
Really?
You see, it goes into effect January 1st if they vote in favor. If not, we know that the legislature has no stomach for going back to it for quite some time.
Yeah.
So a lot is resting on that, and it's very, very close. The polls are now just absolutely neck and neck.
Oh my goodness.
We had been a bit ahead, but some of the negative ads are having an effect because they're placing just enough doubt, they're going to preach it in the schools and this sort of thing, that we're getting nervous. But
It baffles me that people still say things like that.
I know.
That the bigotry and fear still exists. And what year is this? It's 12? Is it 12 now?
Yeah.
You know?
I think the worst ad that I've seen is the one that was going after what happened to Gallaudet. I don't know if you've seen
Yes,
it, but
yes.
there was an administrator there, the chief diversity officer, signed some sort of petition saying that she believed it should be put to a vote, and she was suspended from her post. And now there's a negative ad against question 6 saying.
And it's against her wish to be in that ad also.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
I mean, and it's like she has stated publicly that she is not anti-gay marriage, but they're using this ad to say if this passes, then like everybody who disagrees with this is going to be held up as a hate speaker, and like you should be afraid, and it's a really terrible ad.
I'm happy to say that the leadership of Maryland is for equal marriage was the first one to speak out against this and said that she should not have been fired.
Yeah.
But it was bad timing.
Wow.
Or, you know, depending on who released that, the right time.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, yes.
You know, the strategies are very trickerish.
Indeed.
Did you watch Raising Hope too? Is that why you laughed at that?
Trickerish, it's our new word.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Anything we can tell you? Yes.
Can you guys talk about how you decided to go ahead and make the film? How Alan maybe approached you, or you approached Alan, or?
Would you like to tell that one?
Well, yeah, initially we had just planned on having a wedding for our 25th anniversary. We were just going to have a wedding in New York City because, and this is around 2008, 2009, we started thinking about this. We're like, well, we're going to make it to our 25th anniversary. Let's do something. And so we were planning on a wedding because certainly New York by 2011 will have gay marriage. And
It's so sophisticated.
yeah. And then the vote in 2009 came up and it was voted down, so it wasn't going to happen. So that was issue one
So
that came
mad.
up.
I was so mad.
But one of the things to remember, those kinds of things sometimes are political moves because it identified for us, that vote in 2009 that voted it down, it identified for us who was for and who was against in the Senate. And we could target them. And we went after them. And we went after the people that were on the fence. We manned phone banks and everything in 2011, calling people in undecided districts. Anyway, to get back to your question, issues came up that were going to prevent us from having a big wedding in New York City. And on a goof at a party, Stephen just said, we should just go to all the states and get married everywhere we can. And ha ha ha,
It
isn't
sounded
that
like
funny?
fun.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, and that sort of germinated a little bit. We thought, well, we really could do that. We just, we're talking about mostly the Eastern Seaboard. We'll figure out Iowa. We'll figure that one out some kind of way. And we'll just, take small parties and we'll get married. And literally sitting with Marcy, who was our Iowa
Jewish chick.
the Jewish girl. In 45 minutes, she pulled out a pad and pencil. In 45 minutes, we had the whole thing mapped out. Who was going to marry us in each state, when each state was going to happen. The fact that we had to do Vermont, New Hampshire in one weekend so that the timing would work out so that we're finished on our 25th anniversary in D.C. All of that happened, boom, boom, boom. And then as we were going to sleep that night, in my little head popped, this might make an interesting documentary on marriage equality. And then the next day I said, you know what, let's go get a camera.
And we actually asked Alan, what's a good camera to buy? We were in the store going, well, should we buy this one? And we'll call Alan.
Yeah.
And he told us.
And we got the camera and we're just going to shoot it ourselves because we know so much about documentary filmmaking. We're going to shoot our own movie and just get everything down and we'll just make it happen. Boom. And shortly after that insane idea, we did our own It Gets Better video. Any of you who've taken part in the It Gets Better campaign, it's one of the most important messages out there going today, I still think. And we invited friends to take part in our It Gets Better video, and Alan was among them. And he came in and we had a huge crowd of people, and Alan said, just let me shoot it. Just give me the camera, let me shoot it. Alan's a filmmaker and an editor. And he shot our It Gets Better video, and afterwards we both started thinking, we really kind of do need a director for this documentary idea.
And a girlfriend of mine who did study documentary filmmaking said, if you're making a documentary, you need a good captain driving the train. You need someone with a vision. And we didn't really have a vision, we just had an idea.
Right. And so after a couple of weeks had gone by, Stephen came to me and he said, Pat, do you think we should maybe ask Alan if he would direct our documentary? And I said, I've been thinking the exact same thing.
But he works so much.
So busy. He was doing like 2 or 3 different television shows that he was editing. So busy. He was so busy. And finally we said, you know what, we'll just call him, we'll ask him, and he can say no. So Stephen picks up the phone and calls him, and Jennifer picks up the phone on the other end. And
I go, Alan, we're wondering, would you be interested in maybe directing our...
I'll do it.
Jennifer tells me that a week before that, he said, I'd like to offer these guys to direct their movie, but I don't know how to ask. And it took that week of her saying, just call them. And that day he said, I'm going to call them. And that's the day that we called him.
Yeah. And the way he leapt at it, then we thought, I think we may have something here. And that's how it happened.
And after following us around for a year, watching us get married, they got married.
Yeah.
And she is the girl that did the song.
She wrote and performed the song, The Let It Begin, which is the theme song of the film.
Yeah.
And she did that as our Iowa wedding present.
Vermont.
Vermont.
It was,
Wait, which ring?
yeah, she sang that at the Vermont wedding. We're weeping buckets, which you see we already do. And then we insisted that it be the theme for the film. And now I sing it all the time.
Yeah. And by the way, I've told Alan that really he needs to balance the film a little more and edit in about 5 more minutes of me crying.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never cry.
Do you guys have any idea what's gone on with Gabriel? That was like just one of those amazing
Yeah.
coincidences.
This film was just dotted with serendipity
Synchronicity.
and synchronicity and blessings all along the way. I mean, I could sit here for hours and tell you.
Alan has reached out to Gabriel via email, to no reply. Interestingly, the interesting thing about Gabriel, and I've seen this film now 50 times at least, and I still laugh at the protester. The second,
Chauncey! I want to party with Chauncey.
And it's something about Chauncey, but it's also, that twang of music that Alan cut in there, and it's just so pathetic. But the great thing is, we need Chauncey and Gabriel and my father. We need, and Jeff. We need those points of view. And after we had done the screening in Austin and driven the 3 or 4 hours back, and it's after midnight, and I'm sitting there taking off my shoes, and my mother comes up, and she's standing over me, and she puts her arms around me, and she says, "I'm sorry your father has put you in this position, but it's really good for your movie." And I said, it's true, especially because it happened organically. It wasn't at all staged. And the funny thing is, she wasn't the first one to say it. After that first conversation, Pat and Alan were conspiring to get me to Texas because it was good for the movie. But it was also good for me because Daddy and I did need to have that conversation. And I think it's really good for a parent who is disapproving of their gay child, or a gay child who has a disapproving parent, to see that you can disagree on this issue and still be friends, because you only have one father or mother, and you have to maintain that relationship.
I have to tell you a story. After having been married for 17 years, and it appeared to be a perfect marriage, I had to go to my parents, Methodist minister and his wife, to tell them that I was gay and that the marriage was dissolving. Mother, with tears streaming down her eyes, and gay was one of my favorite words.
Love that story.
Oh my God. Wow.
One day I said to my mother, "I'm gay." She said, "Yeah."
They knew long before.
Oh, yeah.
When I was 8, my mother found me tap dancing on the fireplace hearth to a Barbra Streisand record. The writing was on the wall.
My father said, "And son, I'll be happy to pay for a psychiatrist." I said, "Dad, I don't need one now."
My ex does. What else can we tell you guys?
Anything?
You want to talk about your rings? You had an awful lot of rings.
We sure did.
We do have an awful lot of rings. He frequently wears all of them at once. I cannot. This is the most I can do. Just the 2.
But, and the 2 that we're wearing, as you remember the California ring, everyone remembers that one.
Which was actually designed for us by a friend of Pat's.
Right. And another piece of serendipity. We just happened to be walking home from the gym, just a couple of blocks from our home, and we ran into a lady that I used to work with at a jewelry company, and we were catching up. We liked each other. We'd always liked each other, and I said to her, I said, "So you're still working there?" She goes, "No. I've left there, and I've started my own jewelry line, and I'm designing now and selling." And Stephen was like, "Oh my gosh, well we're going to California in a month, and we need rings. We don't have rings." She said, "I would love to do your rings."
Just like that.
Just like that. Same octave. And so again, that was just a total serendipity. We happened to run into her, happened to mention the rings. She said, "I would love to design them." We went to her house. The first design she pulled up out of the box was for this ring. She said, "I just cast this 2 days ago." She said, "The design is based on tree bark." And we were like, "For California, how perfect. Perfect is that?" And we looked at it and we said, "That's the one." Took 5 minutes. Took 5 minutes. And we said, "Size this finger, though."
Most of the rings that we used were inexpensive, you know. We wanted them to be interesting and kitschy and not too expensive. We didn't have a big budget. He's a struggling actor. And so we pick up, you know, like the little hematite, it was a gift.
From the shop lady, the lady in the shop who didn't know us from Adam, just said,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is for your wedding, then they're my gift."
And so what we'd like to do is like go to, you know, flea markets and junk stores and, you know, places like that to find interesting things. But the earrings that you see us get married with were his design back from the days when he worked in the jewelry industry. They are 1/2 white gold, 1/2 yellow gold, 1/2 with his birthstone and 1/2 with mine. And we always viewed them as our wedding rings. And so we said, well, we have to use these for one of our weddings. And, you know, I don't know why we had to pick the one where it was so cold outside, because we had a ring bearer, we're on the bridge, it's freezing, there's a torrent underneath us, and she's going, take them before I drop them.
It's so cold.
You could actually see it in the movie, how cold it was. And then the black one for Washington, D.C. is from Tiffany. And the Jewish girl, Marcy, she was working for Tiffany during the holiday season. They have, they call them holiday ambassadors. They're not there to do customer service. They're just to say, good afternoon, welcome to Tiffany's. How long are you in New York? Yes, there's a burger joint 2 doors down, stuff like that. And she said, let's go buy your wedding rings with my employee discount. And we said, okay. And we were there shopping, and we couldn't, at one counter they didn't have them both in our size. And then she said, let's go to the ladies department. This is a unisex ring. And they had it in my size. And so they had the 2 rings, and when we weren't looking, she paid for them.
Aww.
Yeah. So, them's all our rings. And I don't know if you guys know the No Hate campaign with the duct tape and the little No Hate and it's against Proposition 8. When we went to have our No Hate picture taken in New York, we took all the marriage licenses and all the rings, and we explained to Jeff Parsley, who is the husband of Adam Bushka, who shoots those pictures, this is what we've done, and this is what we want to do for the picture, and you can actually see it, you know, on both of our Facebook pages. You can see we've got our arms around her with all the rings and the marriage licenses stand out. It's really, really one of my proudest things.
Stephen Mosher and Pat Dwyer, we have them both on both of our Facebook pages, so you can see the picture if you want. And the funny part of the story is we were explaining to Jeff what we had done and how we were styling our picture. And then we're in line, and they put the tape over our mouths, and we got the thing painted on, and we're in line, and nobody has told Adam what we're doing, the photographer. So we signaled Jeff, and I go, and Jeff goes, oh, you want me to tell Adam about the licenses and the rings and all the weddings? He said, yes, I got it. He says, I speak duct tape. So
What's next?
what else?
Get out the vote.
Get out the vote, people.
The most important
Get out the
thing,
vote. And
of
anybody
course.
that you know in the state of Washington, contact them, get out the vote there, because they're doing the exact same thing, and it's so important right now.
Canvas, telephone,
Canvas,
do
and
everything.
also get out the vote for your chosen candidate for president. I can't think of a more important presidential race in my lifetime. So, get out to vote.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you all.
We're
so much.
super grateful.
Sorry, I had to offer you.